or rewind just a little bit, I didn't actually give my future much thought when I left school. All I wanted to do was leave school and go and travel the world. So I decided to actually study something that would allow me to do that, to travel the world. But fast forward a few years, spoiler alert, working in the travel industry doesn't actually mean that you get to travel the world, unfortunately. So I was working somewhere that was making me absolutely miserable, and I had to do some introspection and really think about what I wanted to do with my future. So I decided that I needed to challenge myself and just step out of my comfort zone. And I signed up to study a Bachelor of Science degree in informatics part time. And around the same time, a friend of mine actually, she told me that there was an operations administrator role available at this information security company that she was working at, which at the time was MWR Information Security. So I applied and I got that job. And I told myself I'd work really, really hard and I'd learn as much as I could so that hopefully someday I could do something really cool with my career. And while I was in this admin position, I started to get to know some of the technical consultants there. And they would always help me when I needed help with my programming modules or my mathematics modules. And eventually they started to teach me some really cool stuff like password cracking and just like the basics of all of the cool hacking stuff that they did. And I started to do a lot of self-study, and I learned how to use the different operating systems like Linux, and I started to get really excited about the possibilities that my future would hold. And eventually I got the courage to ask the managing director if I could do an internship in the technical consultancy while actually working in the admin role that I was employed for. And he agreed because it is that kind of company. They believe strongly in empowering people and helping people to achieve their goals. So fast forward a little bit through the internship, and to my surprise, they immediately offered me a role when the internship ended in the consultancy as an associate consultant. So I then embarked on what was probably the toughest and the most rewarding few years of my career. It involved a lot of self-studying, a lot of mentors along the way, a lot of blood, sweat and tears, but hands down the most fun and challenging time I've had in a long time. And I spent just over a year doing penetration testing or offensive security. And then during that time, I started to help out the incident response team. And I started to learn a little bit more about digital forensics, which I thought was really, really amazing. I still do. It's my favorite thing to do. And I became full-time employed in the incident response team, and I moved to London just over a year ago, and I currently am the team lead for the UK incident response team. So I have about 8 people in my team currently. And I love every minute of my job because every day is different, and it's really, really awesome. So it was a very worthwhile adventure for me. So shortly after I started in the London office, Eliza, my colleague, she approached the incident response team through her brother who actually works for F-Secure. And her message was basically, I don't have the knowledge or experience, but I'm willing to work hard because this sounds like a really cool career. And so I thought, okay, well, this is a really good opportunity for me to pay it forward and show that you actually can achieve something like this if you want it badly enough and if you put in the work. So I arranged for Eliza to be the incident response team's very first intern. And I will let her tell the rest of her story. Go ahead, Eliza.
Thank you, Joani. Good evening, everyone. And firstly, I'd like to say I hope you're all keeping well in the current circumstances, and it's great to be here. And hopefully my story can inspire and encourage some women to venture into the tech world, even coming from a non-technical background like me. So to start off with, I came from a rural area, and career path focuses were a little different and of those in the city. And in perspective, where I grew up, the internet, the broadband was 0.25 meg, so pretty appalling. So I could just about downloaded email. It took quite a while, still does. I didn't enjoy school. I didn't enjoy the school system, and I started to follow my mother's path to become a nurse. I deferred my place from university to do general nursing because I wasn't entirely sure that's what I wanted to do, and started working in A&E as a nursing assistant, which I did for a couple of years. And as rewarding as that was, it wasn't truly what I wanted to do. So my older brother, as Joani mentioned, works F-Secure in the sales side of the company. And he's always encouraged me and helped to guide me career-wise, and saying that there were so many options that I could excel in. And when you're unsure of what you want to do, it is scary, and especially with so many options there are out there, and it's easy to lack the confidence to try and find that passion. But after agreeing to meet some of his colleagues and venture to London, following the initial coffee that I had with them, I was very lucky and was offered an internship in incident response, and after a role as a trainee associate security consultant. I've always loved puzzles and pattern recognition and problem-based and logic-based problems, and essentially numbers. However, I didn't have the confidence or the knowledge of the options available for me to do anything about this interest. And it turned out my skills are very complementary to the security world, and particularly IR, in which I work in. Admittedly, coming from a non-tech background, I have been taught from electricity upwards, and have been super lucky to be part of a company and a team that are incredibly inclusive, and they choose to inspire and uplift and encourage that everyone starts from somewhere. And as long as you have an interest and a passion for what you do and want to progress, then they can help you with the rest. So it took a great amount of courage and for me to even go for the first coffee, especially coming from a rural place and going to an alien city with people I didn't know. But since that initial coffee, I haven't looked back. And a piece of advice I give to you all is to seek out companies like the one I work for, and just go dive in head first and go for it. Yeah.
Thank you, Eliza. Thank you, Johnny. Well, that was amazing. Those are two amazing stories. We have two more. So I'm going to go to you, Olga. You have a degree in cultural studies and come from the arts industry. I understand you started to get very interested in data analytics and then decided to change your career completely and move to the tech industry. Tell us a bit more about it. Olga? Ooh. I don't think maybe there is an issue. I'm going to go to you, Meryem, then, while we figure out what happened. You were instead in the fashion industry. For those of you who want to check up more later, Meryem wrote an article recently in Wagora telling a bit more of her story, but let's hear about it today here. You were in the fashion industry before you moved to the tech industry. Can you share that journey here today and how did you make that happen?
Thank you, Isa. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Wagora. So yeah, correct. I used to work in fashion, and before starting my career in fashion, I got an A-level in tourism. And after that, I started uni and I studied international economics. However, due to some difficulties, I couldn't finish. So the other option obviously was to start to work, and the first job I found was in fashion retail, and I carried on that path. So yeah, I used to work in fashion. I did like different jobs across the fashion industry, back in Italy and also here in London. This is actually the reason why I moved also to London, because I wanted to improve my English and also to get like a diploma on fashion. So yeah, this is one of the reasons why I'm here. And I'm happy that I made that choice because it opens so many other doors. And when I moved to London, I studied fashion retail merchandising. And before I got my diploma, I already signed a contract with a company. And I started to work within the merchandising and buying teams of that company. And then after that, I worked for many other retailers. So I was happy with my job, but then I reached a moment where I didn't feel that was like the real career for me. And I started to look around, I started to speak to other people that I knew made career changes. I started to read blogs, to watch YouTube videos, and also because it was kind of difficult to understand what you can do, because when you work for so many years in one specific field, it is kind of difficult to look around and understand what you can do, because you definitely have to upskill. So that is like, you have to understand and be realistic what you can do. So yeah, one day I met this friend of mine, and she was studying IT, she was studying web development. And this is how I started to be interested in what she was doing. And actually, when I started to make research, I understand that maybe I'm not interested in web development, but something else related to IT. By reading again blogs and making researches, I understood that I have to upskill. And one of the things that many experts were suggesting is to start by learning a programming language if you want to be an IT engineer. So I found many available resources and I started to learn that. And also the other thing that I started to do is to get involved with other tech communities like Women in Tech and many others that you can find online. And that helped me to build my own networks, because that will also give you the chance to see other stories like what we are doing right now here, and hearing other experiences and taking inspiration from them. So yeah, in one of those meetups, I find out that they were hiring for junior roles. And I was like really happy. And as soon as I finished the workshop, I ran straight to a company member and asked them more about the role. And yeah, this is how my new career started. It was by chance, a luck. So yeah, but at the end, if I didn't upskill myself before starting this, I probably wouldn't be able to be here. So definitely invest in yourself. And so yeah, now I'm currently working as a cloud system developer for CloudReach. I started as an associate, so it is like a special program they do for junior developers, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Meryem. I love to hear how enthusiastic you all are about. It's incredible to hear how relentlessly you were following a dream and how enthusiastic you all sound because you made it. It's actually it's actually amazing to hear you. So thank you for that. I'm gonna check again if Olga. I think she had some issues. Oh, hi Olga. I'm so glad you
Yes.
did that. So
yeah, I'm glad to be back.
it's very good that you're back. I don't know if you disconnected before. I'm just gonna quickly go back to your introduction, just for everyone to have a little bit of insights. As I said before, you have a degree in cultural studies and come from the arts industry before you moved into tech. So you want to tell us your story?
Yeah, sure. It's actually very stressful when the electricity outage happens on my very first remote event, but that's fine. That's at least I'm back and Wi-Fi is working again. So my story starts in Ukraine because I'm from Kiev. I was born in Ukraine, and I did my bachelor degree in cultural studies, as you said there. And I decided to come to London to study museums because it was like one part of the culture which I was mostly interested in. And London is the biggest one for museums industry, and lots of big museums, lots of exhibitions. So it seemed like the best place. So when I was 21, I moved to London for a master's degree. After finishing the master's, I was working in British Museum, Design Museum. But my roles were visitor experience assistant, which is a person who is staying in the gallery, who is guiding the visitors, talking to them, sometimes answering some questions like where is the toilet, up to the question what this exhibition is about. So I can't say exactly that this job was something that I expected after studying for 6 years, but I also couldn't find the right position, the right role in this industry. You might know that it's a very competitive industry because there is lack of financing there. So it's very tough in London or even in any other big city to get the good job with a good salary that you can at least have enough money to survive in London. So this competition is affecting, and also there is lack of job positions, and all this struggle just showed me that I'm not, if I really wanted to go for it, I would, but I realized that I'm not feeling that I can really show what I can do and show my potential in this sector. There was another thing which was affecting me and creating me a challenge, that I'm from a country which is not in a part of the EU. That's why I needed to get different kind of visas just to be in this country, in the UK. So after I was working in museums, I had to leave UK, and I had the half a year break from just working, because when I come back to UK, I was on a kind of visa that didn't allow me to get paid for my job. So I was allowed only to volunteer, and that was another thing which made it harder for me to get any kind of job, because the employers, they had a question, why you have this gap, what was happening, where did you work before, what you were doing this time. But in this time I was basically away back to my country, and it's really difficult when you're developing your skills, when you live in your life in one country and then you need to move, because it's not because of your decision, but because of the situation, documents. And many of my friends from art industry also went through this challenge, but some of them, they didn't manage to come back. But they're just a part of the story. I'm just saying that the challenges can be different. It can be not just that you don't have that background, but maybe something else. But it's affecting, but it's still, you can overcome that if you know what you're going for, and you know that you have something to show. So anyway, after all that time, I still managed to get a job. I was a college administrator in sixth form college for digital skills. So even if I was just a receptionist person who was buying milk for the staff or arranging biscuits for the meeting, I was still in this with the computer science teachers. I could visit some events they had with some companies. But I decided, okay, I'm interested in data analytics. Let's try some courses. I also decided to do a part-time course in General Assembly. Maybe some of you know, this is a company that provides courses in data analytics, data science, and lots of programming skills as well. So I did that course. I can't say that it's actually taught me to be a data analytics person, but it showed me that I can do some I'm good at doing some technical things. For instance, just basic things with SQL databases. So just operating data in the database. I never thought that I will ever be able to do that. I thought that my Excel is my level. That's it. I can't do anything else, but that's not true. So I tried that. That was a good thing. And then I kept going to obviously meetups. I kept studying. I tried even to go to some data science meetups. It was very difficult for me, didn't understand sometimes the word, but I decided there will be something for me. So actually how I don't know exactly what was Meryem's story of her. I think it was also through the meetup. So basically I met with Yoyu, who is doing a workshop, Python workshop for Wagora, by the way. I met with her. She told me about fast track. No, the conversation started with me complaining, oh, I don't have experience in tech. I want to get into tech. And she mentioned fast track, was super excited. Okay, let's see. Never heard even about cloud technologies, but I decided, okay, I'll check what it is. And I successfully passed the interview. They accepted me for the program. And obviously during the program, I kept studying. But after 3 months, I was able to start to be on the customer engagement. So I was able to do almost the same work as other engineers, developers were doing. So I can say that after just doing some self-studies, getting some mentoring and tips from others, but just through this self-development, I managed to get to the point that I was even promoted within the year of being associate. So yeah, I would say it doesn't matter where you're coming from. Is it art? Is it science? Is it tourism? It's never, your profession is not really defining your identity. It is temporary, but it doesn't mean that you're restricted to what you're doing. You just don't know that you can be very good at something else. And I just tried at one thing, so I failed. I tried something else. It was okay. I will develop and do that. So that's how I ended up in CloudReach and now working as cloud systems developer. Sorry, it was maybe a bit rushed because I was a bit of shock because of this outage. I was off.
These days, technology happens.
Yeah, exactly.
We live what we we have what we have.
Yeah,
And thank you so much, Olga. That is great. I don't see any questions yet in the chat. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat. Otherwise, I have like a million questions, especially after hearing these stories. I think I'm gonna start with from the beginning. So if someone today is listening to your stories and is thinking, maybe I can make it. I heard some of you mention meetups and trainings, but looking back to your own journeys, what would you say, what would be your advice for those first steps to understand if tech is a real possibility for that people that is starting to think maybe tech is for me too? Olga, I'm going to start with you just because we just talked.
Yeah, sure. I was actually thinking about more like what examples of what you can actually do, not just saying, yeah, you can develop yourself, you can practice. I realized that, for instance, I can speak only about my position, which is developing systems in cloud. So there are lots of, for instance, you can practice if you want to find out about DevOps, which is about creating the automated way how to deploy, create things. So there are lots of different tools, but some of them you can create free accounts. They have lots of tutorials on how to create your basic things. You just follow them, you use your free account and you can create something. So I would advise just try different things. You will hate it, some of it you will love because it's so easy for you, but with me it was constantly that I get frustrated, constantly errors, constantly things going wrong, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to be good at it. It just like we all fail. People with 15 years experience, of course they can do it because they did it before. Again, you try it, you see something works for you, something not. And I just saying why we could get into tech, I think what helped us, because there are so many online resources free courses on Coursera, EDX. Microsoft have lots of learning resources for free. You can create, if to talk about cloud technologies, you can create free Azure or Google Cloud account, try things, you don't need to pay for anything. So just try that, and more you fail, more like faster you'll find out what you actually like or what you're good at. So just practice in that term, and self-develop, of course, by studying and learning. But yeah.
No, that's good advice. Actually, that's very good advice. What about and maybe I'm gonna go with you, Johnny, because you seem to have a very clear idea that you wanted to go to security. So what would be your advice if someone is kind of curious about tech, but what would be your advice to choose what is the right domain? Should I maybe look into development or security or data? How would you help them? What would be your advice to make those choices?
Yeah, so I think it's important just to speak to people in those different roles. Let them explain to you what their day-to-day looks like and the kinds of things that they work with. So some people have like approached me and they've said, okay, can my daughter spend the day with you? She needs to decide what she needs to study after she leaves school. So then I'm always open to that kind of thing. Come and spend the day with me at my desk. I'll teach whoever, it doesn't have to be like anybody. I'll teach them a cool skill, tell them about what my job entails, and then also through that process I'll introduce them to like the developers in the company or the IT administrators in the company. So speak to those people and then see what sparks joy in you and what sparks an interest for you. And then my only advice is to try and understand something. The best approach is just to approach it from a practical point of view. So for me, for example, to understand Linux, I formatted my whole laptop and I just installed a Linux distro. And I promise you, I broke many things, and I had to like Google on my phone how to fix things just to get my laptop to work. But I learned how to do it, and I learned how everything works. So if I wanted to learn how a network works or how networking works, then I would set up a little network and see how everything works in the background. So practically trying things and not being afraid to fail is very important.
That is actually a very valid point. I probably learn more when I break things or when they don't work and I get frustrated trying to figure them out than actually when you just like try something and it works. We have some interesting questions coming in. Lorna, again, I'm going to give you the opportunity, if you don't put an X, to ask your own questions. Lorna, do you want to unmute and ask your questions to the panel?
Okay, hi. I just wanted to know if you could explain a typical day in each of your roles.
Sure, I can start. So like Belen said earlier, I work for a cybersecurity company. We help clients with their information security. We have two parts of the company that basically does the offensive stuff, which is like the penetration testing. They test for weaknesses in the company's networks or applications or anything that digital really. And they sort of hack into those elements, and then they write a report to say, these are the weaknesses, these are the vulnerabilities, this is what you need to do to fix them. And then my side of the business is more the defensive side. So we help companies who have already been hacked, or they might have experienced a ransomware attack or malware attack. And so we go in and we help them eradicate that attack. So it might be a live attacker or it might be historical. So if it's a historical attack, then we do a digital forensics investigation. We can tell the story of what happened, how they got in. And then we write a report to say these are the recommendations to stop this from happening again.
I've heard the term ethical hacker. So is that kind of...
Yeah, exactly. So that's the offensive side of the business. That's exactly what we do. We don't at least the cybersecurity industry isn't a huge fan of the term ethical hacker because it's a bit contentious. But yes, that is essentially what the information security companies do. Yes.
Thank you.
Cool.
Eliza, I'm going to use the same order. Do you want to also explain what does a day in your life look like?
Yeah, so I work in the same team as Joani, and my day, because I'm just learning and all the time, so my day is tends to be shadowing parts of the team, or they'll send me over some data from an incident or something that I'll learn how to analyze myself. And I do some courses on the side as well, so it's pretty much just learning what's going on in our team, basically.
Thanks.
Cool. Olga, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I think as we might be working, we are working in different projects with Meryem, but our job is similar. So I might start and then Meryem just add some. So basically we have different clients that they have different, they can ask to build the whole infrastructure in cloud, or they can ask to build the specific service, or they will ask to, they have, for instance, the application in their servers on site, but they want to move them or even change them and move them to cloud. So my typical day depends on what exactly we are building or changing, but we are writing the code which we run, and then it deploys the whole infrastructure services in the cloud. We are working with different cloud providers. For instance, there is Azure, Amazon Web Services, and Google Cloud. For instance, my specialization is Azure. So it also depends in which project you are, but mainly it's writing the code and creating the cloud infrastructure in an automated way. So our client just need to click a button and then it deploys wherever they want based on the configuration they need. Yeah.
Thank you, Olga. Meryem?
Yeah, so as already Olga said, that basically is what we do on a daily basis. So we just basically listen to the customer, what they're trying to achieve, what they're stuck, because sometimes they want to go to the cloud, but they don't know how to do that. So we help them on their journey. We work in a team, so you will find, for example, as cloud system developers, and we work with the cloud architects, and then we're gonna have product managers. So we work like as a team, and everyone has their own tasks. So for instance, as developer, we work mainly with the other engineers, like for example, with the customer, writing codes, testing codes. We start like every day is different. So you are always like working on something different. So just to give you like an idea, every day we have something called stand-ups with the client, where we talk about what we did yesterday, what we are trying to do today, if there is anything that is blocking us, and then if there is, someone will come up and say, oh, I know that, I can give you a hand. So that is like a really good culture, because it shows teamwork. So that's really important, and it doesn't last that long. It's just like few minutes each, and then it's over. And then you go to your work. We work on something called tickets. So every ticket states what you have to do exactly, what they're trying to do. So for example, I don't know, you want to deploy a virtual machine. So you will write a ticket, deploy virtual machine, and you give all the details. So someone like me as a developer, I will pick that ticket and start to work on it. And again, you work on it, you test your code, it looks fine, you ask someone to review it for you, and then you deploy the resources you're trying to deploy. And that's the end of the ticket. And then we have other ceremonies that we do with the rest of the team. But mainly this is what we do on a daily basis.
Great.
Sounds cool. Sounds cool. We have another question from Kat. Kat, do you want to unmute yourself?
Hello, everyone. Hi. Yeah, so my question is just about if you're self-studying, how do you know that you are ready to apply for a position? Because like Olga, I come from an art history background, so I did work in museums, and for that, I completely agree. It's super competitive, and there was a few internships I applied for where there were only 2 spaces, but 5,000 applicants. So there's no way you can be underqualified. But this is a completely different. You're kind of going into a job where you don't necessarily have the skills yet. So yeah, what is your advice and how do you know that you're ready, basically?
Olga, I think that one is for you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kat.
My story is a bit different because I didn't apply straight away on associate position because there was this program, fast track program. Not every company has that. But considering the situation that many people are looking to change their career because of the COVID, all the circumstances, I think now the community, even the fact that Wagora appeared, we have all these events, people are more happy to help others, to guide others in terms of how to get the certain job. I don't have the exact answer that, oh yeah, if you find someone on LinkedIn doing this job or a recruiter, they will definitely help you. But I think reaching out to people in certain companies, in our company that are presented here or any others, I think people would be happy at least to guide you. Like, for instance, in our for cloud systems developer job role, we are doing certifications which are exams by Microsoft or AWS or Google Clouds. And for instance, if you do an administrator exam for, let's say, Microsoft, for Microsoft Cloud, you will know, okay, if I did this exam, probably I have more or less enough skills. So, or for instance, there are very particular tools that we use for our work. And I think people from this company, they can, even if you reach out to me or anyone else, they can tell you, okay, probably you need to understand very well this tool, be able to do ABC with this tool. And you need to understand, let's say, architecture of, I don't know, Azure or something. So I would say reach out to people. They can't measure definitely your skills, but they can at least tell you what is more or less expected. Because in art sector, some job positions are very vague. You can't really say, oh, you're definitely ready or not, you're not. It's something about also your knowledge, your behavior, or experience. While here it's very, I would say it's more clear what is a framework, what is expected, what you should know, what you preferably you should know, but it's just easier to say like what is expected. So I would say reach out to people in LinkedIn. Even you can connect with someone, and if you can't message them directly, just send like a note while you connecting to someone, say, oh, I'm really interested in getting this industry, can we arrange like a short chat just to discuss what do I need to know. Also, there are lots of blogs, or for instance, this platform Medium, there are lots of blogs of people saying what their job includes, what they're doing usually on the job. So just use online resources and get in touch with people. I'm sure they will be able to help you.
And if I can just answer the second part of your question about the pressure of not having enough skills in your new role. So something that I think we've probably all experienced is something called imposter syndrome, and it's very prevalent. And I'm going to tell you that you'll probably still be feeling it many, many years into your career, but that's actually pretty normal. You shouldn't be afraid to be surrounded by people who are smarter and better than you, because that just means that you can learn from them. And just make sure you're putting yourself in an environment where that is the culture. But you need to learn to sort of embrace that imposter syndrome and turn it into something more positive. So start to believe in your own abilities and just gain confidence in that. So the pressure will diminish, but it will never quite go away. But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
And just a small note, even senior people, they make mistakes, even they forget something, even they don't know something. So it's okay for everyone. Doesn't matter if you're super experienced or not, just a human thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. That's actually a good point. I think most of the people in my company in AWS has imposter syndrome. It comes it comes with, it's normal. The more you achieve, I think it just comes with it. You fear if you are skilled enough, if you have everything it takes, if it was a mistake to hire you, right? And it's just how you handle that. And you raised a very good point, which is failure. And I think the important thing is not focusing on the failure, is trying to extract lessons from that failure. What if you, in any failure, there is something that you can learn. And if you can do that, if you can learn something from every mistake, you're gonna always continue to grow. So I think that's the key, is how you handle those situations and how you handle that imposter syndrome. But yeah, it's great advice. I'm going to add to that and say, to what you say, actually, I'm going to just stress what you say, which is networking, how important it is, connecting to people. And I think in all your stories, you already mentioned that it was kind of thanks to that, either because you went to a meetup or because you connected with someone that talked to you about an opportunity of a program. Those connections are super important, and that's why it's one of the reasons why we created, Belen created the Tech Women community, and now Wagora. If you join to Wagora, there is also a Slack channel that we just created, and that is another way of meeting people and having these casual chats to ask these questions about, and share those maybe fears or doubts, because we all have them. At the end of the day, if you talk to people, you realize many of them have them. Maybe not everyone shares them, but they are very present. And I think we can all help each other. I'm more than happy to help you. If anyone is interested, please feel free to reach out or join us on the Slack, on the Wagora Slack. We are more than happy to help each other. And I'm going to go to Evelina, who has also a question. Evelina, do you want to unmute and ask that question? No worries, I'll read it for you. So Evelina is saying that she's a junior web developer, but unfortunately lost her job due to COVID. I'm sorry to hear that. After losing her job, she became more anxious about learning new things. So how do you cope with failures and difficulties when it comes to learning new things? And I'm gonna ask Eliza to answer this one, because you're learning continuously. So probably you have a good advice here.
So I think you just have to go for it in the end. And I find that I break a lot of things and things don't go right the first time, and you just have to keep going and going and going until you get it right. And it's the not giving up and not getting disheartened by it that is really important. You've just got to go to your goal and just go for it.
Cool. Thank you, Eliza. I'm going to also ask Meryem the same question, because you had also that move from fashion and you joined this program at CloudReach. So probably you also can add to this in terms of how to be not anxious about learning things and maybe sometimes making mistakes.
Yeah. So I have something to add that I didn't write in that blog. So when I decided that I wanted to have a career change and I didn't know what I wanted to do, I actually got into a mental health issue period. So that was quite serious for me. And it was all due to failure, anxiety. And I reached a level where I couldn't cope with my daily routine. So the decision that I made was kind of drastic. So I just took a break and from everything, and I focused on my mental well-being. And that really helped me because I cleared my mind really well, and I discovered new things about myself. And it also helped me to get into the right mind to look for new challenges. And when I started to look into IT, because I realized, okay, I want to pursue this career, I was scared. I was really anxious that I'm gonna be like another failure again. So that is, again, as Joani already said, is like imposter syndrome, and I didn't know about it back then. So I had always like to take a break and say, no, I can do it. I mean, the worst that you can have is like, no, you didn't do it right, try again. So yeah, I think that experience really helped me to be better myself, you know, and to grow and yeah, to improve myself. So I think if I stopped there, I wouldn't have achieved what I have now. So yeah, I try to see the things from different perspectives sometimes, just to not be like really anxious about things, because yeah, sometimes, like especially now with COVID, everywhere we look at there is negativity, and yeah, it's kind of like easy to get yourself into that really bad situation and that mental issue. So yeah, just try to be strong, surround yourself with the right people, have around positive people, definitely, that believe in you, and then believe in yourself as well.
Thank you, Meryem. Thank you for sharing that. I think that is very important to also not to realize how difficult things are sometimes, and not make it, oh, it's amazing, everyone can do it. It's hard, you have to learn, you make mistakes, sometimes you feel down, and it's just how, again, it's how you handle it, and here you are now, and it's amazing, right? And thank you, Kat, so much. I just saw your answer. I don't see, and thank you, Evelina. They are saying it's really good advice. So we have still a few more minutes. I don't see any more questions. Feel free to put them in the chat to interrupt me, because I did wanted to ask you one last question that I took a note before that, and it's kind of related. On one hand, we've been talking about, yeah, there are challenges and there is a lot to learn, and I would like every one of you to answer this one. But what would you say to someone that is, on the other hand, thinking tech is too difficult? It's like, it's gonna be impossible for me. Like, you are all great, you are amazing, because you've changed countries, you've changed your the industry, you've changed your careers, you are relentless, you are strong women, but I'm not like you. What would you say to someone that thinks tech is too difficult, I cannot do it? I'm gonna start with you, Meryem. Just let's go in reverse order now.
Yeah, so actually that's me still now. So sometimes I have those thoughts as well. So even after all what I've achieved, I still have those bad thoughts sometimes. And again, they are just bad thoughts. So just kick them away. So, do like some mental exercise. That's what I try to do. I use, you have to look for something that can help you to cope with negativity. That is like the most important thing you can do for yourself, is to cope with negativity, because you will always have like a really bad situation, and you don't have to let yourself down. You have to be kind of like a strong-minded person. So yeah, I try, when I have those bad thoughts, just take 5 seconds, deep breath, and then yeah, start again. So yeah, I would say, like, don't compare yourself to others, because everyone is in a different journey, definitely. What is important for me might not be important for you. We are trying to achieve different things, and we have different age and different scenarios. So again, IT is quite open, so it's quite inclusive, not just in terms of men and women, but also like in terms of age. So now companies are trying to be diverse and inclusive towards women, but also like towards people that have different ages. So you were never gonna be too old to learn new skills. I'm 34, so and I just got into IT, so it's never too late. Just yeah, believe in yourself. Kick out those bad thoughts. If you think that you can't do it, just give it a try. Just say, okay, I'm gonna try to do it for 1 month or like for 1 week. Start with like something that you can achieve. Okay, I'm gonna listen to this video. Start with something quite simple and basic. Don't go to something quite complex. And see if you like it. Try different things about, regarding IT, read some blogs. If it's something that you are really interested in, then carry on with your research. If you don't like coding, but you still want to work in IT, that's fine. There are other opportunities out there for that. So yeah, just don't close yourself inside and don't think that's it, like you will never do it, because then you will actually never do it. But just give yourself like a chance. Start with something small that you can achieve now, and then slowly you are gonna see after 1 month or 2 or 3 that you did something quite outstanding.
Thank you, Meryem. Olga, do you want to add to that, to anyone that thinks it's too difficult?
Yeah, I think just something to add, and maybe it's like logical, like something which comes out of what Meryem said. It can seem to be very complicated because you just look from it without like not experience in trying anything, and anything complicated, it can be broken down in simple small blocks. And when you start to look at one thing, okay, you learn that, then you see, oh, that one is another simple block, and then you see actually it's not as scary, as complicated as I've seen it before, because you break it down, and more you break it down, doesn't matter if it takes you 1 day, 3 days, or 1 month to figure out one small block, but when you realize, when you understand how it works, then you move on, and then you move on. It just like any industry, any skill, anything can be very complicated when you're new to it. It's not just about IT. So what Meryem said about just trying, doing like steps, and then you slowly will get to the stage when you will look back and think like, what I was afraid of is just another skill, another industry, and now I understand how it works. I understand what people are talking about. It's just a matter of learning. And then every day now I'm struggling myself with like when I compare my skills, my knowledge with other people who spend more time in IT. But then I think I can, again, break it down, what they know, and then I will know it as well. I just need to give myself time to learn it, because it just consists of one small things, and then you just build on it. You can't know everything at the same time. It just, for any person, is impossible. So just take small steps and you will get where you need to.
Thank you, Olga. I'm just gonna finish with this loop with Eliza. I'm gonna go to you. Do you have anything to add to people that think it's very difficult, or if you want to give another like super advice that is gonna help?
So when I first started my internship, obviously coming from a non-tech background, it was incredibly scary. And the first couple of weeks I thought, oh my gosh, how on earth am I ever going to learn all this stuff? And it took me a couple of weeks to get into it and think, actually, you know what, I can do this. And with it was really awesome, because one of the team members I met on my initial coffee completely took me under their wing, and has constantly been on the other end of the phone if I got stuck, or just doing simple things, like just explaining simple things in a different way. It all helps. And another thing is, don't move on to the next thing until you fully understand this thing that you're on at the moment, because if you keep moving on, you'll then have like gaps and stuff. So yeah, just have fun with your learning.
That's awesome, and I totally empathize with that one. I get excited, and it's like, oh, new shiny technology, let me test. And it's like, yeah, you end up with a list of to-dos and to-learns that it's never ending. So that's actually very good advice. Joani, I'm gonna end up with your amazing advice.
Yeah, not much to add to that. Basically, just don't put these limitations on yourself, because oftentimes the limits that we have are the ones that we put on ourselves. Don't choose the very hardest thing and see it as impossible. The hard things won't always be hard. If you just try and you keep working, if you want it badly enough, you can make it happen, and it'll start to feel natural.
That's actually, it's interesting hearing that from you, because for me, your domain is one of those that it sounds so niche and specialized, and that requires so much deep knowledge that it's also kind of also daunting sometimes. So it's amazing that you say that, because it's actually true. It's probably because I haven't spent enough time learning or working on it to fully understand that it's achievable if you dedicate all that time. So that's great. Belen, I'm gonna read your question. Thank you for the for the asks, and I'm gonna open it to any of you if you wanna answer any of the panelists today. Within the tech industry, which domains, areas could you recommend people interested in tech look into besides cybersecurity and cloud computing? What are the skills of the future in the tech industry? Does anyone want to take that? I have a few ideas. No one? The one that pops to my mind, because I hear it a lot, is all these new fancy names, the DevOps and SREs. Chaos engineering is something that is very popular these days, and there aren't, because it's quite new, there aren't a lot of professionals. So it's a great opportunity to upskill yourselves. And there is a lot of demand. Chaos engineering is the one that I'm talking about. So that's one that comes to my mind. I don't know if anyone else can think of others. As SREs also, I think it's system reliability engineers. I don't know if anyone else can think of others.
Yeah, machine learning, AI, that sort of thing, flying cars and automated cars. It's the way of the future, I reckon. It's definitely a very interesting field as well.
Yeah, another thing is also Kubernetes, although it is like a bit complex. So if you're like a new starter, it is something that you can like do, but I wouldn't suggest to start with that straight away. But yeah, it is like one of the technologies, let's say, of the future with machine learning, artificial intelligence as well. If you are trying to get skills to find a job in IT, and if you are like into coding, so if you are in that kind of role, apart from learning a programming language, for instance, I chose Python just because I've heard is the most used and popular one, but I think anyone can do as long as you learn how to do it. Learn maybe Terraform. I worked also with DevOps, so that as well is a good skill that you can learn. Yeah. But again, I would say don't worry too much about what you learn now, because you can always upskill yourself. So for instance, now I'm in a different project, and whatever I learned previously is not used in this project. So I'm upskilling myself again and learning new technologies. So yeah, yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. And it's probably, as you all mentioned today, you probably want to investigate and research a little bit to know which one you like. Like, it's great. Machine learning has a lot of opportunities. That's like, there is a lot of demand. AI, ML, it's a very hot topic. But at the same time, if that's not what excites you, if you're not enthusiastic about it, then maybe it's better that you choose security if you're enthusiastic about security. So keep that in mind when you have to make that choice. But also, yeah, Meryem, I totally agree. Those skills often can be easily transferred. And you can also like expand them as you go. Like maybe you start learning containers and you're not super excited, you can use that knowledge to move to other areas like cloud computing or whatever else, or security. Even if you understand containers, is probably easier to secure them. So absolutely, transfer those skills and keep growing and networking. I don't see any other questions. So anyone wants to do any final words before we close the panel and move to the next section of the event? No one? Okay, Belen, I'm gonna bring you back to the spotlight because I need you to do the rooms that you manage, the magic with the rooms.
So we can do, I'm gonna stop recording now. So we're gonna do some